I got the walk, there's a longboard walk. I know the talk, the longboard talk. I know the talk.
Well, we're live to air, and welcome to episode 11 of Oz Longboarding. It's Weeksy here from Western Australia. It's been a great week in WA. I was lucky enough to go for a surf with a good mate of mine yesterday, Mr. Dave Barlow. Thanks for coming and picking me up. Today I've had a crappy day trying to fix a car and put a turbo in, but apart from that, WA is looking good and it looks like being a fun weekend. WA State Round is coming up on Saturday Saturday and Sunday at a left-hand point break about an hour south of Perth at a place called Avalon Point, and it's a rocky left at point break, and I love surfing there, so hopefully I have my car fixed in time. I get to catch up with all the gang. Speaking of catching up with the gang, I'll start with Big Sean McEwen. How are you, Sean? How's things on the Gold Coast, mate?
Yeah, good. Had a great morning this morning. Small waves, perfect sunshine, definitely a bit warmer. So, it was just a magic day. But, yeah, you know what they say about Queensland, beautiful one day, perfect the next.
I just reckon it's because you guys cover it up when it's crap. It rains a lot over there. Sunny. See the sky in the background here, beautiful blue sky. Wintertime Perth, can't be beat. WA, represent you. A bit further north of you, they tend to get a bit of rain as well, but it's always warm enough you don't care. Kira Molnar up in Noosa, how are you, mate?
We did get a little bit of rain on the weekend, actually, so it's not always sunny, but it has been really, really nice. Open beaches have had a few waves, and this afternoon we've had a few waves coming through the points, so hoping this weekend we get some more.
Good stuff. And, it seems like we're all a happier bunch when we've had some waves. Man with a big smile on his face, he must have been surfing. Nath Riverland, how are you in Victoria?
Got my mask on, guys. Yeah, it's I'm going all right. It's shit kind of seems to be hitting the fan a bit here in Vico with Corona, but no, I'm good. Just surf's been pretty good this week. It's been a bit small, but really sunny, like summery kind of conditions and weather down here. So and the weekend's looking really good. So stoked. It's gonna be good to get in the water.
Oh, I tell you what, are we going to get 100% days? Everyone happy with how their week's been? We've all had surf and good weather. Matt Chinoski in Sydney, mate, can you complete the 100% for the week?
Yeah, well, I'm pretty ecstatic this year. We're talking about the surf, but I tell you what, this winter is shaping up to be the best one I can remember. What a week of waves! Missed last week's episode, and I couldn't really G up the swell. But it was a surprise. It wasn't meant to be as good as it was. Monday ended up being in the realm of, well, I was calling 6 to 8 and then paddling out. And, yeah, it felt much, much bigger. And then you look at the photos and it was 10 to 12 foot plus, super clean. The next day it was going to be bigger. It was about 4 to 6 and really mumbled. So everyone was a little bit confused as to what was going on. But still, yeah, the weather was pretty gnarly, but the waves are incredible. And a really good year to get those boards waxed that always just sit in the rafters, and you know, all the guns and everything, and mostly all single fins too, because it's been so clean.
Unreal. You guys have been. We've all been pretty lucky. I think Perth have been having a great time like for this time of year. We've had probably more surfable days in Perth metropolitan area. I mean, up north and down south always pumping, but Perth Metro doesn't get particularly good very often. But looked quite a lot like that again today at Scarborough Beach. And, that brings us neatly to this week's guest. Last week we had the Surf Witches on. It was fantastic to have them, and look forward to hearing more about what they're doing in the future. But this week we're going to be talking about fin design. So hopefully a few Surf Witches have tuned back in to pick up some tips. And to talk to us this week about fin design and what's happened with fins in the past and what maybe will be happening in the future, glad to invite on a good mate of mine who I actually met in Western Australia on the beaches of the Perth Metro beaches in WA. And I've known him for a long, long time. A good friend and bit of a mad scientist, shall we say. Welcome to Oz Longboarding, Courtney Potter.
Oh.
How are you?
No, good. Hey, thanks guys for having me. Yeah, just joking. But no, great to have you. Be a part of it. And thanks, Weeksy and Sean, for inviting me. Both legends in their own right, as far as I'm concerned. So yeah. Awesome, guys.
Thanks, mate. It's not the first time a guest's given me a nice intro. But where exactly are you these days, mate? I think last time I come to visit you were in Currumbin area. Where are you exactly now?
Well, I spent about $100,000 to build a bunker in the hill of Burleigh Heads here. A coronavirus proof and nuclear bomb bunker. And it's just a container sunk into the ground. So even though it looks kind of big and exotic, nobody actually knows I'm here.
Mate, we can't go too much further, mate, without asking you about your hat. It's what's going on there in the fashion stakes?
It's a pyramid. Highly recommend wearing one. But no, I just put it on just to get some curiosity. No, it's just my cousin makes them. He's a ufologist in America, and he highly recommends it. It's actually gold plated, and yeah, it's pretty cool. You know, you just wear it, and I don't know.
Will that protect you from the electromagnetic radiation or COVID, or just make you feel good being cool?
Yeah, it makes you feel pretty good and pretty cool. I think that's about it. Might do that. I don't know. Weeksy, it could, but no, it's just it does work, and we've had some pretty cool stuff happen with it. You know, like people are not feeling that good or whatever. We tested on a couple of kids once, and they really, they show it. They can feel, you put it on, it's pretty cool. But no, it's not
Listen, mate.
nothing more than just a bit of fun, really.
You always, the one thing I expect from you, Courtney, is the unexpected, and I think probably Sean will probably want to speak a bit more about that later on as well, because I know he's got some interesting memories of stuff over the years. But give us a quick talk through, mate. Where did you start off in life, and how did you end? Like, just give us the quick bullet point version of how you got to be a fin manufacturer.
Okay. Started off as a doll bludger for about 20 years. Traveled the world, but I was a painter and an artist the whole time. I've done exhibitions all over the world, New York, Oregon and that. I'm a painter, that's what I do, and a sculptor. And then I worked for a toy company in America for quite some time. And I just thought, well, I don't know, I just looked at fins.
What did you do with working with toys? Because obviously, as a father, I look at the toys the kids have got these days, and they're way cooler than what we had when we were little fellas. We've got 2 bits of wood stuck together with a nail. But what did you actually do at the toy company? Because that's a great way to get exposed to a wide range of technologies and manufacturing techniques.
Yeah, well, it was really cool, Weeksy. There was a WA guy, Peter Cummings, and him and his brother, Rod, invented the 4-wing boomerang. It's like a soft indoor boomerang, and it's called the Roomerang. And they were like us, we were like Cheech and Chong, grommets, we're absolutely useless. All we do is smoke weed and surf, But they invented a boomerang that had 4 wings, and they cut it out of a beer carton and just started throwing it around one time. And anyway, they took it to America, and they made it out of EVA foam. And literally overnight, they were millionaires, and it was radical. And I just happened to be in America, and I was doing art exhibitions, and I had no money. And then I talked to Pete, who was in Oregon, and he said, "Oh man, I need an artist." He goes, "Come on up," And I said, "Oh, you got to buy me a ticket," And he bought me a ticket, and I went there. And then I lived in Oregon, Oregon for 7 years doing artwork there. So that was it.
Nice. Now, are we allowed to talk about where the first 3D fins came from, and is that part of what we can talk about tonight?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. No, it's a trippy story. I mean,
so maybe I'll start by. Can I show them first of all so people know what you're talking about? So I'm going to have to turn off my green screen, and everyone will be able to see some amazing technology going on here at the Weeks Video Studios. But I have to turn the background off, otherwise the fins will disappear. So I'll turn that so you can see the green cardboard on the wall behind me. But this is what 3D fins were originally going to be. So it's a bit hard to get the right angle on the laptop, but looking down the board, you can see 3 points of contact with the fin, and Courtney, even though I was quite into my aerodynamics and stuff, a navigator in the Air Force and things, but you were the first person who mentioned the term knacker foils to me. And that was in relation to the where the inspiration from that come from. So can you tell us a bit about how on earth did you come up with those sort of fins and what do they do?
Yeah, it was pretty funny because when I was working in the toy industry, the toys we were making were flying toys. So they're boomerangs, airplanes, and anything that flew, basically, we were making and messing around with. So I knew all about foils and stuff. And then these guys from NASA, and they, I don't know, they had a falling out with NASA. They were kind of totally crazy American dudes, totally whacked out, but really smart. And they were real, like as in they were really airplane engineers. And they designed an airplane that was the military was going to use to launch out of the water. And that was the actual wing design that I've got as those fins.
Yeah. So I'll go back. I might just leave this bloody thing off so I can.
I've actually got one of the airplanes here. I've got a couple of the prototypes, but they're only small. But they wanted to make a toy version of it. So Peter, my mate, did it. He made it, and I was doing the artwork for them. And so we ended up getting to know these guys, and yeah, they were totally loose. And yeah, in the end, they kept on telling us about the technology behind the fin. How it would launch out of the water, and just all this incredible lift and all these different characteristics. And so I just thought, my God, it sounds like it would work on a surfboard. And the guy was like, yeah, man, do it, And I was like, yeah, I'm going to do it, And then it took years. It was like fermenting in the back of my head. And then one day I just got sort of, inspired. And I flopped the mold off the toy. So I just covered the toy in latex, the wings, and then cut them off, and they were like a mold, so reverse mold. And then I filled the mold with glass and resin. It was just completely brutal. But I made I've actually got the first board outside. Give me 1 minute. All
right, I'll keep everyone occupied.
I'll show you.
So when I was living on the Gold Coast, my next door neighbour down at Machinery Drive was Mr. Lee Shane, the General Lee Shane, and he made this board for himself. And when Courtney gave me a set of fins to have a go of, I'd actually had them for a while on a longboard, but I wasn't allowed to show anyone, and no one was allowed to see the fins. We'd go down to the beach at South Point at Quarrama, take the board out of the board cover on the water, go for a surf. But if you look at these fins sort of front on, that's basically what the rocket ship, spaceship thing looked like. So one of those on either side of a body with a fin. So imagine that's the wing, if you like. And even the toy, hopefully Courtney will grab it out for us, but even the toy looks like it shouldn't fly, but you throw it and it'll go, 100 metres quite easily, and which is really quite bizarre. So this little plane that he's talking about was designed to take off from the top of a submarine.
One of the early ones. Sorry,
no, mate, you're right. Go.
That's all handmade, but they're all. This one's broken, but and then that's the death hatchet. That's this thing goes amazing. It was a Pope, but it was one of the early ones.
Yeah, right. So, so you had it pretty close to right from the start. Changed the angle of attack a little bit under the inside edges. What was the idea of the backwards facing fin, the canard type thing?
Well, I got that off a Russian MiG. It's like the most maneuverable, high speed maneuverable airplane ever made. And they had that wing, and I was like, maybe that's kind of the answer for the trailing fin. And it actually works really well, but if you get hit by it, you're dead.
Yeah, you don't want to surf that in a crowded break. So, did you have one of the little actual flying, like the plane itself?
Yeah.
Somewhere handy?
I think so.
But
how do they go in a longboard, Weeksy?
They go really, really well. What you find is a lot more projection out of turn. So as you go into a cutback, a much wider arc, and in the white water they hold particularly well because the water can come in through the side of them, and it still creates lift. Doesn't matter what the angle of attack is. So essentially, if the water's coming in through the side of the fin on one of these angles, it'll hit the inside and then redirect. So each of those three surfaces is a knacker foil, which is a special type of foil, which obviously Courtney can probably talk more about. But regardless of the angle of attack, the water will come in through the sides and still turn back into drive. So on a longboard, when you're at the nose and the tail of the board's in white water, crumbly white water, especially on a thruster setup or a 2+1, not so much with a single fin, because you've got more depth penetration, but you tend to get cavitation, which means the fins lose lift. So if you're halfway through a turn or bottom turning, you've got white water, then the fins will stall essentially and slide sideways. These don't. And so on a longboard, I've used them on a cheap, crappy Chinese pop-out longboard initially because no one wants to chop holes in a board they like. Then I got one of my Sonova longboards, which I loved, and Courtney actually made me some special fins that you could utilise the existing 2 FCS plugs there and there. So this particular board, my good mate Lee Shane decided to allow me to chop an extra hole. So he's put another, these are actually Shapers S plugs. So there's 1, 2, 3 plugs, and that one's actually drilled through the original FCS plug, which you can still see there. So these fins don't work on a board that's already got plugs in it, and that's kind of why they weren't really marketable as such, because people didn't want to hack up their boards they had, and Shapers didn't want to make boards specifically for fins that no one knew anything about. Back to you, Courtney.
Well, that was the airplane they came off.
Oh, wow.
And I actually did the artwork for that one. So we end up making it into a toy. And
Pretty cool.
yeah, it's pretty trippy. But
Cool. It's crazy.
yeah, I got a larger version of it, and that's the one I actually made the mold off. So I actually just took a mold off the wing. It was so.
You showed me that out the back of your house at Trigg. Goodness knows how long ago that was. But I remember when you threw it, I was saying to the guys while you're off looking for the board, when you threw it, I thought it was just going to fall to the ground. It just didn't look right. But you launched it, and the thing went for 100 metres.
Yeah, it was a trip. And that was one of the first fins we made out of it. That was after Dave McCauley, and I had Simon Anderson work on it too. And I went and met Simon, and the guy's so cool. You know, it's just this crazy grommet, you know, with this crazy fin. And he looked at it and he said, "That's really interesting." And he goes, "I'll make a board for it." So, you know, that's Simon Anderson. He made a board for it, and he wrote them, and he gave me this amazing, like, whole page critique, you know. And it was one of the things that made me change the design. And he goes, "You know, great. It actually made this board turn better and really surprised and all that stuff." He goes, "I just feel there's too much surface area." So originally these were really big, you know, quite large. And then I just reduced it. I just chopped it in half. And then they started to really work really well. So.
And what's your background with surfing? You probably haven't heard me introduce myself, but I'm Matt. I'm from Sydney. I ride everything from single fins to quads, bonzas, the whole lot. So I'm very intrigued with this design, and I have heard of them. But what's your surfing background? What surfboards are you familiar with, and what kind of waves?
Well, I've surfed all my life, you know, since I was like 10 or something. Surfed, you know, lived down Margie's. I lived in South Australia at Cactus for like 4 years. I've got property in just south of Cactus in Fowler's Bay. I've surfed a lot of amazing waves in South Oz. I'm a WA boy, you know. I've surfed all the world, you know, surfing's my life. You know, it's always been whatever, you know, that was the pathway. Art and surfing is kind of, you know, whatever fitted into that I did sort of thing. So, yeah.
I think Matty's interested as well. You're mostly a shortboarder though, Cooks. I think you'd be.
No, not necessarily, Weeksy. You know, I'm open to anything really. But
back in the day, as far as your history of surfing.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But you know,
what bottom contours? So like you've come up with it. You're designing toys. You obviously have a strong foundation with surfing. And did you get what made you, I guess, what was the trigger moment when you thought, this really works, I want to take it to sort of the next level? Did you take them down to Cactus and do a couple of years of R&D? And so what was the sort of trigger point?
Well, I can surf okay, so I knew straight away that there was something special. Like the moment and the first version I made was so brutally rough, but it worked. And I was like, holy shit. It didn't flip around and go backwards. There was no drag. And, it was at Scarborough. It was about maybe 2 foot. And I came off the bottom and, had a nice little sort of, smack of the lip. And I was like, wow, holy shit, even a thruster might not even do that. And so I thought straight away, I was like, oh, this is something. And so I literally got obsessed with it for about 5 years. And I had a guy back me for about 2 years. And then, but I had Dave McCauley, who was a good friend of mine from way, way back, as a shaper and stuff. He used to shape my boards. And I actually lived under his house without him knowing for about a year in Margaret River. And we were like literally underneath his house. Like, it was a holiday house that he lives in now. But yeah, so me and Dave, he knows me as a grommet, a wild grommet. And, but he's, ex-world or second in the world or whatever. And so he tested them, he believed in it. And he tested my fins for about 2 years. And we just whittled it down until this, where it worked amazing.
Wow.
Yeah, and his last comment was like, that's it, Corks. They're as good as any fit I've ever ridden. I was like, all right.
Mate, you know when I was sold? Watching that footage back at Left-Handers. So for those of you guys a bit younger, Dave McCauley was on the world tour for years back when it was 20 turns to the beach wins you, and he's a really good technical surfer, great power surfer being from the southwest of WA, but predictable, precise, So, and Left-Handers at near Quirmup Bay is where he surfs most of the time. And I could commentate. Yeah, and he rips. He's a couple of years older than me, but he just rips to this day. But I could commentate him surfing a wave at Left-Handers without even watching. Dave McCauley takes off deep, off the bottom, big belt through the roof, releases the tail. Like, he had this sequence of manoeuvres, big roundhouse cutback, pump, close out Rio, and it's a left-hand reef break, so it's the wave's mechanical, and he would surf it amazingly well, like big power. But the first time I watched him on the 3D fins, he had identical boards. One had thruster setup, one had 3D fins, the original 3D fins. And two things. First of all, his turns were faster, they were bigger, but the spray. So when you're filming, obviously you're trying to keep an eye on, have the horizon at the 2/3 line. So watching the footage on a thruster, he was ripping and the spray would go just over the horizon line, just over the horizon line, just over the horizon line. And he's doing 3, 4, 5 big turns every wave. On the 3D fins, the spray was going out of the shot. Actually had to reframe the camera to get all the spray in, and it was just rah, rah. So yeah, in every way he was surfing bigger, faster.
Yeah, no, totally. Well, I had Mike McCauliffe, who was also riding him and also a WA legend, and he was also really incredibly supportive of my craziness at that time. Of the idea that something so weird actually could work. And he rode him out of massive margies. And I've still got footage of him just getting crazy barrels and just doing these snowboard-like turns, and but he said to me, he goes, before he actually rode him, he goes, that footage of Dave, I think it's the best I've ever seen him surf. And that was on the fins that I got, just sitting there on the hill filming him with a really crappy camera, But that was, and then Mike goes, I'll ride him. And I was like, okay, cool, And that was in the early days. But, yeah, no, they worked. And, I had, Wayne Lynch, Morris Cole, Simon Anderson, Robbie Page, John Schmittenberg, they were all riding him. And they all said, look, they are really kind of blowing us out. But how are you going to get them into the market? How can you sell this thing? And I was really naive, and I thought I could change the surfing industry, and people who just get 3 plugs instead of 2, and it just didn't happen.
Yeah.
So,
Because the business model that would have worked was doing trials, go have a go. But to do that
but
on
even then,
a one-time
it was
basis, it would never be viable as a business.
surfing is so incredibly unadventurous in its design area, which is changing, thankfully. But for a long time, other than when acid was still getting taken by surfers, there was a period there was 60s, 70s was rocking. But no, it did really, the 80s, 90s, 2000s got really boring. And no one was willing to actually accept that, something radical could work. So, yeah, it's all good. But it just was, I had to come up with something that fitted into a normal fin box and people could get their head around. So that's when I came across the dimples, and I was literally playing golf with them, and it just sort of hit me. I was like, wow, I understood what dimples did on a golf ball, and I looked into the technology, and I thought, no one's done that on a fin. It's bizarre. It improves the foil performance, reduces drag.
Yeah.
Air and water are identical. They're the same, like it's a fluid. So, it was really, it was kind of one of those moments where you sort of literally go, wow, shit.
Well, that
maybe
leads,
this is it.
that leads me to my my next question was going to be, I was going to mention the evolution of fin design. Really, of course, we've had the invention of multiple fins, but the general shape hasn't changed that much since 1966 of the generic fin. Obviously, size-wise, width-wise, foils and stuff, but for the most part, it's gone from 11 inches down to maybe 1 inch on a trailer fin or a twinser or something like that. But the general shape is curved. It's got a narrower tip than it does a base, and it follows that dolphin fin outline. And then obviously you've got longboard variations and hatchet fins and stuff. But your shape, it is intriguing. It is a shame the industry has a tendency to crush invention and creativity, which I guess is where the market comes into it. But the materials, that's really interesting. I was going to mention about materials because I find a lot of the time, even a lot of the big brands end up with this product that's more practical than it is functional, as in it comes off the production line easier and it finds its way into production because it's easier. Doesn't necessarily go better, and there doesn't seem to be too much scientific. I mean, you had the H2 that FCS had there, and the variations of the canted fins, which I thought was pretty wild. But can you mention much about the materials in the industry? And you just mentioned about the dimples, and that's very unique.
Yeah, well, look, I guess in a way, the beauty of surfing, if you are an innovative person or you're creative, there's an opportunity to come up with stuff. You know what I mean? Like, nothing's changed for a long time. And that's what I saw. I was like, holy shit, fins haven't changed for so long. I mean, I'm sure there must be a better fin, surely. Can it really be that's it? That's the end of the game. We've already found the greatest design that was actually probably 100 years old, really, So, no, that's where I think surfing's got that unbelievable potential where people can innovate. The average guy or girl can come up with an idea, and you know what? There's a good chance that you can get it into the market and make it happen. But materials are the same. Fins have been fiberglass. That's why I came up with this soft fin. It's a high performance fin, but it's got a soft skin. And I wanted to do this about 8 years ago because I thought golf balls. I wanted a fin that you don't have to. You drop and it's not going to break or chip.
Yep.
Or hit the reef. And you buy a brand new set, $190 or whatever, and you jump off at bloody Burley or whatever, and you hit your fin and you've taken the top off. It's fiberglass. It's pretty primitive.
Cool. Sorry to butt in, mate, but I think Nate's got a bail.
Yeah, sorry guys, I got a bail. It's my sister's birthday, so I got a little dinner to go to. But Yeah, thanks for coming on, Courts. Well, I'm sure we'll chat soon, but
I know if you keep in touch, I'll send you a set, man. Get my email off Weeksy, and I actually would like to send you a set. Give them a test.
will do. Thanks, man.
Yeah, get the crew on the wave pool. Let them, this is safe, won't break.
That's what we
It's
want.
better than any other fin out there right now. So
Good. Awesome. Thanks, mate. Thanks for coming on. Thanks, guys.
Cheers, Nathan. Say happy birthday to your sister for us as well, mate.
Yeah.
Will do. Cheers, guys.
So, Corks, there's soft tips, are they? Soft leading edge and trailing edge, or?
well, it's a really hard inner core, so stiff as like a fiberglass fin, but it's got a soft skin,
Wicked.
so you can actually.
Yep.
Wow.
Perfect for the wave
But
pool.
it's not soft enough where it'll, it doesn't warp or anything. But I've got 2 daughters and they've been cutting their legs surfing and stuff. I know some girls and guys that all, had horror accidents. I got ran over and snapper on Saturday. It was absolutely pumping, but it was like being out in a, I don't even know what it was, but people were just running people over and it was just mayhem.
So good for
I was
safety.
actually testing these, and I was like, "That's so funny." The day I'm testing my fins, I get my leg run over, by this mad guy. He's just dropping in and just literally just plowed over about 3 people. I was the first, and so there's a place for it. And once again, I'm just amazed. It's never been done before. Where you can have a fin that's actually high performance, but it's not going to freaking cut everyone's head off, or there's that intermediate or people have had a bad experience with a fin where this thing is actually really special. You can ride it as a normal fin, but it's not going to cut you.
And like with those materials, do you think they produce sort of less waste than fiberglass, etc.?
Way less waste. Yes. That's the cool thing too, is the way they're making fins right now, they're all coming out of China, FCS included, other than their latest plastic one, one that they did in Switzerland or whatever, or Sweden or whatever it was, Swiss. But it's horrendously wasteful, really dirty, and it's kind of one of the dark secrets of the industry. Fin manufacture is probably uglier than some of the surfboard manufacturing. So yeah, these things, there's no waste. They pop out, that's it. And you can actually grind this up and use it for a secondary plastic use. It is plastic and nylon and glass fiber, which unfortunately in surfing has a bit of people think it might not go as good as a fiberglass fin, but it actually does. So
Yeah, it's great.
it's way better, less waste.
So because it's in a mould, you basically just, and this is one of the centre fin for a 2+1 set.
Yep.
Golf ball dimples, but this one's really flexible. But isn't there some sort of, and that's the thing, I don't think, well, we'll get into fin design now, I suppose, but obviously you can change the template, but you can keep the same template and change the material and totally have a different flex. So this is poured into a mould, so it's not sanded into shapes, which is where the less waste comes from. But tell us a bit about what sort of, this is like, I mean, I say plastic, but it's some high-tech polycarbonate from the aeronautical industry, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's, and that material is quite old, and maybe some of them, when we were first doing it, were more flexible than others. It's a trial and error thing, and sometimes it surprises. You think, oh, wow, maybe it's too flexy, and then you ride it and you go, holy cow, this thing's amazing. So you really don't know, and, it really is an unknown what works for you and what board and all that stuff. It's just literally, you can be very surprised by sometimes changing, your fins. And even if you go for something you don't normally, you think you'd want stiff fins, try a flexi fin, you might be blown out.
Yeah.
So yeah, it all just is different.
I think this one's a bit too much the wrong colour, but exactly the same template, but made out of fiberglass instead of so a lot less flexible. So totally different performance dynamics when you change from one to the other, even though the actual shape of the fin is absolutely identical because it's come out of a mold.
Yeah.
how do you control the mold profile and the flex with plastic? Is there a lot of trial and error to get that, I guess that foil, right? Or that, introduce the flex in it at the right spot?
Yeah, yeah, look, it is. There's nothing about surfing as a science yet. Everything's trial and error. Every model you get every year, it's a trial and error. They hope it's going to be the one, that's why they change them. It's a fashion, Fins are the same. So we're keeping up with that fashion. So a lot of these boards actually respond to actually quite a flexible fin. The bigger boards do like a stiffer fin. So, and then you've got these new sort of, hybrids and that, and, keels, like everyone's going on keels and stuff on the big old, the fishes and stuff. But you'd be surprised, those things work with a flexible version of the keel actually works better.
Okay.
So, there's areas there where, like, it's constantly evolving, and fins are too. And, unfortunately, there hasn't been enough sort of probably highlight on what a fin can do to a board, But if you're keen to try it and, mess around with it, and, you've got a board that you think's a dog, but change the fins first. Don't sell it.
You hit the nail on the head. I've been riding single fin longboards for a very, very long time. And when I first started riding them, it was pretty much only Midget Farrelly and Dion and Fluid Foils who were doing box fins. Generic shapes, which are still pretty much available these days. But beyond that, any type of American style or anything, even Australian style like this, you couldn't get. It just didn't exist. You could, True Aims in the States started making some and getting the license. But I'm completely with you there that the fins do change up a board, because longboarding can feel a little bit stagnant at times in the industry, and someone will bring a little gimmick or, a new material or like a carbon composite or something like that. But the fins do have the ability to add that spice to a board and turn a dog into a beauty. And you can just experience something, just that little extra spice that you thought could never happen on that board. So I think you hit the nail on the head.
And hey, Kira, can I ask you, like, what's your fin? I mean, because I find it really interesting about girls, like, because I've always made a girls model. We sponsored Izzy Gomez. She was a longboard, absolutely ripped. She's an American girl. Actually was a world champion sup, but she absolutely rips on a shortboard. But I was always amazed that, there wasn't even why hasn't Steffi Gilmore got a bloody, signature fin? You know what I mean? What's up with that? Like, I mean, is it what's your favourite fin?
I actually really like experimenting. I think I'm always still really learning at the moment, but I've got a fair few different shortboards, and I have like 3 different fins sets, and then I swap them up between and change on conditions. In terms of, I can't say. It's so hard. It's exactly like
what size you're riding?
In my shortboards, kind of like a medium-sized fin. I couldn't tell you exactly the size. Usually like the FCS KAs, so the Yeah, and then I've got a set of the Jeremy Flores ones as well, with a little bit more width in them. And I always find they go better on my shortboards that have a little bit more volume in them.
Yeah.
So I do really like that. But yeah, it's hard to say like a very specific fin, but I think girls sometimes can be different because we haven't always necessarily got the weight to put behind our turns. So sometimes it is better to have, like, if you've got a smaller person on a board, then it's better to have a little less fin in the water. So I think your idea of like specifically a girl's fin as well is a good idea. But yeah, I don't have a specific.
Yeah, I mean, I just think, I think there's, I just find that, there is definitely different, dynamic there, weight distribution, absolutely. So yeah, it's kind of interesting that, but the Chloe Andino's got less of a tip on it, so it's quite a narrow tip or fin. So that makes sense because you're going to be able to free it up a bit more off the top.
Yeah,
It's still got that
exactly.
wide base, you know. So
Yeah, and I use that in my more sort of high performance shortboard as well. But yeah, and girls have a very different biomechanic to guys as well. So it is interesting. But like you said, there's not been that much research specifically done it, like the data analysis, which I would really like to see as well, actually.
no, it's totally cool. I think so, yeah. But sure. That's why, you know, the flex, I reckon the flex is a big one. Like that's where, you know, these, you know, some of the fins I've got where they've got a little bit of extra flex, and that sort of gives you a bit of extra width. You know, sometimes it just gives you that extra. So yeah, we'll have to get in touch. I'll send you some of my fins to test.
Sounds good.
You're a longboarder, right?
Perfect R&D pilot, and nice work there, Kerry. You're picking up on how to do that just quite perfectly. I'd love some fins; that'd be great. But it's interesting. I in small waves, I prefer a flexi fin. In big waves, I'd like to have a rigid fin, so you're not getting any skipping out kind of deal. But as the flexible fins on a shortboard or a longboard in small waves really gives you that little squirt that you're looking for. And obviously the wave's not that powerful. It's going to overpower the fin and make them flop around like a big wave.
No, that's, yeah, exactly. Yeah, definitely Weeksy for sure, 100%.
There was a big trend there for a little while with the carbon fibre, and of course that just makes the fin really, really stiff, which is great for big waves. And they look awesome. I love the look of carbon-based fins, but I really am a big fan of the flex as well, probably because I'm a little skinny fella like a girl. But yeah, all right, Kira, give him a go, and Kira will give you good feedback as well because she's got such a strong professional background in health and well-being and fitness, and
wicked, yeah,
knows how to describe things. But Sean McEwen, I don't think you're looking for a new sponsor at the moment, are you, mate?
Hey, Courtney's on board for the Kira Longboard Classic, so that's good.
And a great sponsor of the Australian Longboard Open for a long time as well.
Yeah, mate. But the thing I just found interesting then with Kira saying that for girls, she thought a smaller fin might be better. Now, as everybody knows, I'm a fairly big lump of a boy, and yet surfing single fins, I preferred to have, it was only a 7.5-inch cutaway. So quite a small fin, very rigid, and loved it like that. I did try more flexi fins. In those old days, we had the feather fins. I don't know if anybody remembers them.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, they're 8 inches high with a rake on them, and they looked a bit weird, and they really did flick you through your turn. Yeah, didn't like them at all, but everyone raved about them. But like I say, I liked really small fins.
Did you ever mix and match those, Sean? Because I would have said exactly the same thing until I bought a fin off Mick Coddy, a 12-inch fin, one of those saw fin, the hand-foiled thing, the saw. And I put that into a board, which I've actually currently got a 2+1 set of 3D of the black plastic ones in it, and I love it on my whalebone board. But when I had the 12-inch single fin in it, I love the way that went. And Mick Coddy, and I know a few other people are heading into the real long fins now. So did you change yours much, or did you sort of decide what you liked and then stick with it?
It didn't change the singles in that much. What I would do is, I love the fact that the boards started coming out with the ability to change your fins around, the fin box, and we started riding the 2+1s. I didn't do that. I got into more thrusters. Like I'd have a 5-inch centre fin with 2 3.5-inch side fins.
Like the slide, Sean.
Yeah.
But what I found too, like what would
Herbie Fletcher
I
slide.
was about to say that. Herbie Fletcher over here.
Yeah.
See, this is where I don't know what it was. I didn't find out till I put some deck grip on the back of my board.
Oh!
But I never went anywhere near the back of my board. I turned from, definitely closer to halfway than the back. Turned from the rail.
What sort of rail shape did you have coming into the water? Was it a real boxy rail, or was it sharp, flat? Or...
Well, hey, my boards would all be 3 1/4 thick, and is carrying the foam out as much as we could, just to get the flotation. But they'd be sharp on the, surfing the points of the southern Gold Coast, you've got to have fairly sharp rails.
And that's the thing is when you've got an extra weight, when you're knifing into a steep wave, then basically you're pushing more rail into the water, which is holding you on as you go as well. So it's a very complex sequence of calculations to work out what does what. But as we can do these days, you can just chuck in another set and just keep swapping around until you find something you love.
One of the guys that really stood out in my mind, was the late Wayne Dean, and he used to surf what they had probably call a mid-length now. It was definitely a shortboard design, but it would be a 7-footer, and he had about a 12-inch single. It was really big, and he would just go vertical.
Big banana. Well, that photo of me doing the almost, what did Taylor Jensen say? Almost lunchtime. The backhand re-entry on the board. That's with a 12-inch single fin on a waist-high wave, and just bang up and down. So because Courtney didn't sort of go into too much about one of the kids, both of the kids. Hey kids. Courtney didn't go into it too much, but he's got quite the team of team riders who have input into the shape of his fin. So the standard template shortboard fin was developed with Josh Kerr, and everyone knows Josh Kerr from the World Tour, very high performance, all-round power surfer, and surfs amazingly well. Jamie O'Brien, of course, slightly crazier, and he's got his own special 3D fin. But what a lot of people, very few people know, is that Phil Hargeman, 2 times world longboarding champion, rides 3D fins. You don't tell people enough of that stuff, Courtney.
Maybe that's sometimes it's good, let people find out themselves. But no, Phil, I don't pay him anything. I don't want to abuse the fact that he's riding them. If he wants to post it and say something, that's great. But he did. He won, his world championship on them. So that was really cool.
Which model fin was that one?
Well, he actually rode the just a 7-inch, that one that Weeksy was showing. But he put side bites in there sometimes. He did want a bigger one because they changed the format to more traditional. Because he was a really quite a radical longboarder. So he had to kind of work out the traditional style. He said that my fins, I actually made him a really special set with channels all through it. And he said it was the best noseboarding fin he'd ever ridden. And we're trying to get it up as a model for him. But, the thing is, I'm a pretty small company, so it's very, sometimes it's kind of hard to kind of put all that cash together to get something, going. And so it kind of it was put on ice a little bit. But, there's definitely, he's a guy that kind of gives you amazing feedback. And then people like that, they're, kind of priceless in a way. And you don't really, my personal view is I don't need to jump up and shout about that. But if, someone finds out it and they go, wow, that's what he's riding, that's cool. But he's definitely really, great feedback. And that's, for me, that's where I get the value sort of for. So I'm just into creating cool fins, I'm a terrible marketer. But unfortunately, I'm doing it all myself. So, it's hard to sort of market yourself, your own ideas. So that's always been a challenge. But I'm making a decent living and living in a killer spot. So I don't know if I need to grow into something ginormous and stressful yet or ever.
I reckon once the market gets a hold of those rubberized fins, I reckon you might you might be surprised. I think between the learn to surf market and the wave pools around the world, I reckon you might be on a bit of a winner with that one, mate. So tell us a bit more.
That's the beauty of it. That'll sell itself. I don't have to go, I've got this guy riding for me, and give him a whole bunch of money and all this. This fin, it sells itself. It's needed. It's incredible. It works incredibly well, and it's safe. So, I don't really need to. I don't have to come up with some amazing marketing plan for that one. It's just like ride it and test it and feel it. That's it.
Oh, actually, I mean, you're a bit of a movie maker as well. You've done all sorts of things, and what you really need in your life, I think, is like a personal assistant to keep you on one idea at a time, because you've got so many of them. But
isn't that what the triangle does? Keeps it all.
That just keeps out
I
the
think so.
I do.
Yeah. Yeah, it keeps them inside.
keeps it focused. But actually, well,
Occasionally, like a little beam of light comes off.
it's a chakra, baby. So I know a few years ago, you may have seen Kira and Maddie up at the Noosa Festival, the surf machine.
Oh, yeah.
So can talk us through that, actually, because that's something.
Oh, my God, Weeksy.
I haven't got one here in the room, but I've probably got a video or something on the computer. But have you guys seen those? Like a little miniature wave pool thing with a surfer or a boogie boarder?
Yes, I have. Yeah.
Well, that's how I met
Courtney's
Courtney.
the one that
I
invented
saw
this.
them in one of the shops, Retro Groove. And
Yeah, Retro Groove sold quite a lot of them for me.
I saw it there, and I went, I want one of those. So I wrote to you and said, hey, sponsor the contest.
That's right. Yeah, that's when we first met, right, Sean? Yeah. I think I've got one. Hang on a sec, but yeah, that was a crazy.
I can't believe you haven't
awesome.
seen one of these, Matty Chinoski, because I had this thing in my head, and this is before I think I may have owned a longboard at that point, but when I got my first surf machine and I wanted to make a longboard, I had a little thing made of. Oh, hang on.
That's it there.
Yeah.
It's a water feature.
Awesome.
Creates an endless
It's like
barrel.
his very own home wave pool.
That's
Yeah, it
cool.
was the first wave pool ever, actually. But
So that's really incorporating your toy background and surfing too.
well, that was the first one because I knew how to make a toy by that stage, and I thought, shit, no one's ever made a surfing toy. You know, nothing good anyway. And I was kind of seeing that wave lock, that the original kind of Swatch wave lock thing, and so I thought, well, shit, you know, surely you can make a miniature one of those, you know. And yeah, I just basically literally made it out of an old surfboard blank, carved it out into a wave shape, got a hose, pressed it up against it, and it's spread this little barreling wave. And I was like, oh, wow. Okay, maybe I just need a water pump. And made a bunch of prototypes, and then finally got it to work really, really good. And then I had a little surfer that had to wait on, and he'd actually ride the wave and get barreled and come out.
Sean's got
And, yeah, it was pretty crazy. And then, but it was a bit too unpredictable, so I put a little groove, a little hook, and then the surfer just comes in and out of the barrel. It's the world's longest tube, my boy.
That's such a retro groove thing to sell.
Let Sean make some noise so the camera goes to him so everyone can see the picture.
Okay.
Oh, Sean got it there. Oh, that's cool. Yeah. Oh, that's the video. Yeah.
Come on. Is it coming up?
It should, yeah, we can see it.
You see it? All right. I'll stand out of the picture. I've just got it as a screenshot.
I'll just have to spotlight you because every time someone else talks, you go off the picture. But there you go. So there's lights inside it, Matty. So you can see the lights. The lights change colour. But see that the little peg coming off the surfer's back? That's got a little pin in it where it attaches to the barrel. So it also came with a boogie boarder. And so you can have the surfer or the boogie boarder and put him in the barrel. The water squirts out, gets barreled, and little palm trees in the background, the whole 9 yards.
Brilliant
Awesome.
boy.
Nice one, Sean. But yeah, great little toy. And it actually came in a limited edition silver only one. So the whole background was totally chrome silver. And Phil Jarrett, if you're watching, still owe me 2 of them from all those years ago, just before the shop shut. I reckon he's probably got them stashed at home. But so how did they go, Sean? Because Courtney, because people still ask me about them.
Yeah, it was good. I mean, you know, I think I sold like 10,000 actually. I was selling them in the US and Japan and online. And at one stage, I think I had 252 stores in Australia stocking them, but maybe only 100 actually paid me ever, you know. But yeah, so it was, but yeah, I kind of survived off it for a couple of years, and then I thought, shit, I need to invent something that people need. You know, it's just a gift, and you know, it wasn't a necessity. So that's when I looked at fins. I was like, wow, you know, no one's ever done anything with fins. Surely there's, you know, something that can be changed here, and that's when I started getting to the, you know, the fins really. So I was just looking for a way to make money and not have to work too hard and surf a lot. So
Sounds like every surfer's dream.
yeah, exactly. Well, that was it. You know, that's the motivation. You know, and you know that's what I was saying before. The beauty of surfing is you can still do it. You know, we don't have these giant kind of amounts of money thrown into innovation, and you know, really, it's up to the average guy, the home kind of tweaker that's messing with something that, you know, look at Simon Anderson and, you know, some of the great designs that have come out have been just some guy in his bloody shed, you know. So there's still that, you know, that's what I like about it. There's still that, you know, you can still do that. And there's still incredible amount of, you know, no one has really touched the surface of what surfing.
The other great creation that you've come out with, though, that I really loved was you made that little animated movie.
Yeah.
And tell us the crew about that. I don't know how many saw it. I showed it one year down at the Australian Open. Absolutely loved it. I don't know whatever happened to my copy of it, whether I sent it back to you or lost it somewhere, but it was fantastic, that little movie.
Yeah, well, originally I did it to sort of, you know, kind of promote the surf machine, but it kind of got a life of its own. But I made puppets, you know, I just hand sculptured all these different sort of surfing kind of puppets and just sort of borrowed old surfing stories that we all kind of know of, an old grumpy local and a secret wave and, you know, grommets and, you know, developers and stuff like that. And I just sort of made a kind of a series of little short movies. And I won the Jack McCoy short film. I was one of the winners anyway, but so they end up showing it on the, you know, the Dog's Life or whatever Parko movie all across Australia, and I was like one of the movies that they put up.
Free as a dog.
Free as a dog, yeah, that's right, yeah. So they had, you know, they had all the cartoons or whatever.
Yeah.
So my little movie was on there, so that was pretty cool.
But it seemed like at one point there, Courtney, just about every time I came around to visit, you had a new prize. You're like, check this out, my new video camera. Like, where'd you get that? Oh,
Yeah.
won a film comp. What was the one about the dumpster to barrel or whatever it was?
Oh, the bin to the barrel, yeah. You know, I found a board in a dumpster, and then you know, it was the most beautiful board I've ever seen, and then we just kind of recycled it, and then brought it back to a beautiful red gun. You know, it had axe marks in it. The fins were kicked out. It was like some angry girlfriend had, you know, trashed this guy's prize board, and it was in the dumpster. And I picked it out. I just sort of drove around. I saw it, and I was like, "Holy shit, what's that?" And anyway, you know, brought it back to life. And and then one day when it was finished, I just picked it up. I actually had an all-nighter with my mate, and he was finishing it off. I was driving back, and I was like still drunk, you know. And I was living in Sorrento, and I drove by Triggs Point. There's not a soul out there, and it's pumping, like, you know, 4 to 6 foot, glassy grey. It was like cloudy. It was meant to be a storm, and it's just kind of that 1 hour before a storm comes in. And I had my girlfriend or wife at the time, I forget which one it was, but only joking. No, but anyway, my wife, she filmed it, and it was totally cool. We I ended up winning I don't know. I forget which movie. It was something anyway. Whatever. Yeah. But
Well, you must have won a video camera or something, but that's a great video. Is that on YouTube? Can people go on YouTube and watch
Yeah,
that?
you can go. Yes, Bin to the Barrel. It's on YouTube. Yeah.
Well, I thought that was a sick little video. In fact, the very first time I come around your house, I think that the red board, like the resin, you could still smell the resin. I think you guys.
Yeah.
But,
Pugs made it, and he glassed it in his bedroom. I was like, holy shit.
Absolutely classic. Now, I'm hoping that from watching the show, we're going to have a bunch of people ask us some questions about fins and stuff. Are you happy to engage with them on Facebook and answer some questions as a mad inventor, scientist man?
Yeah, no, definitely, Beaksy. Yeah, totally.
Because it's always a lot of fun, and you've got a lot of knowledge. But for those who were actually wanting us to do like a fin design thing, the bigger the base, more drive, longer, more hold. And the sharper it is through there, the narrower it is through there, the more quickly you can turn from side to side.
Well, you know what? I've always had a really good sort of. I think it's a good analogy, but I look at a fin like a miniature surfboard. So that's your tail. So that's release. You know, and hold, And, you know, the rail, you know, this is your rail. So you can actually have, you know, that is so important, but you can have you know, I find that area should be a little bit sort of more rounded and thicker. And as you go down towards the tail of the fin, you know, you can have a sharper edge. So you've got more release, you know, so it's literally like shaping a miniature surfboard. So, you know, there's so many kind of things that are very similar. And if you look, I just look at them as little surfboards. So it's like shaping a little surfboard. You can add an edge and you square off the top, you know, the back edge. A lot of people think that should be rounded, but it should be squared off. So there's a nice clean release like the back of a boat. You know, there's a lot of things about fins that, even you get your own set of fins at home. I always say to people, you know, grab a square block and just run it over the trailing edge and flatten that and square that edge off nice and clean, exactly like you'd want your tail of your surfboard, because that's where the water's releasing. So if there's a curve, it actually grips onto the curve because water hugs curves. So you end up getting this, you get a wake and it slows the fins down. So, you know, anyone can actually make even their fins at home actually work better. You can soften the edge here on the front edge, just soften it off a bit, square off the back edge. If you feel like your fins are hanging up a bit too much, you know, reduce a bit of area in the tip. So there's a lot you can do, you know, even just mess around with your own fins, you know what I mean? That's what I always say to people, just find it out, you know.
And that's obviously that's a good thing. Is like in much the same way, I reckon everyone should have a quiver of surfboards. I think you should also have a quiver of fins to adjust those boards. So a lot of different sizes, different shapes. Have a bit of fun with everything. I've had a go at those tunnel fin things. Geez, they were horrible. Remember them, Courtney? The rectangle ones.
Yeah, yeah. Well, actually, funny weeks. I read an article about this guy raved about them. So, you know, once again, who knows?
And that's the beautiful thing. Horses for courses. So you might love one board with your fins in it, and then someone else has a go and they want to put.
Actually, I've got something really cool. I'll just give you 1 second. I'll show you.
Yeah. Well, while he's away, one of the things we used to do back in the 80s was buy plastic fins and shape them into different designs because they were cheap. We could afford to mess around with them. They worked out brilliant.
One of the best shortboards I've ever had was a 6.6 Sonova from Bert Berger, and that was like my all-round go-to board. And the fins were probably, I'm going to say, double the thickness of this. Had foam on the inside, carbon fibre wrap, so it was like a shaped fin out of foam with carbon fibre over the top, really, really thick. But they were the fastest and the most drivey fins I've ever ridden.
Wow.
It's check this out, guys. Now, I didn't make these, but I bought this board because I just was like, oh my God, somebody has put in all this time to make this unbelievably crazy.
Sick.
Yeah, it's called the Shredder.
It shred your legs if you fell off in front of it.
I noticed there's a distinctive flat bottom on that board, obviously just so you can feel the variation with the fins, I suppose.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I haven't ridden it, but I just think it's
yeah.
I just love it.
You couldn't go.
Let us know how it goes.
Yeah, I will ride it. I'm just scared to do it. You know, I don't want to, you know, it's kind of rare. It's incredibly rare, this board, but.
Yeah.
I'm seeing a bit of drag there because of the cant of the outer edges.
Oh, it's got lift. I don't think it'll drag. I think it'd be.
It's not really,
there's a lot going on here, but it's probably.
A bit of Venturi through the tail section there. It's a bit hard to see angles and stuff, but it looks like it's squirting the water outwards a little bit.
Yeah, it's funny. It's actually shaped by Matt Herworth, who does Chipper Wilson's boards. And he came over one day and he goes, "Holy shit, I made that board!" And I was like, "No way."
Unreal. And look, I love, and as you know, Courtney, I've always been a big supporter of anything a bit different, and the collection of boards I've got, I keep them specifically. In fact, that one with your 3D fins, I rode about 3 weeks ago at Leighton, Courtney. About just slightly overhead, high waves. It was my first surf on a shortboard in ages, and I grabbed that one because I love the way it feels. I love the way it goes. But I think, Sean, did you want to, before, we've gone over time already, but I know I was saying to Courtney before you actually came back to the call earlier on that he's a memorable kind of guy. He does memorable things, and you've got a strong memory burnt into your brain about Courtney.
Oh, yeah, mate, and Courtney knows it. We were on the squirt one night over at the Whalebone, and somehow your name came out of the lucky draw for a board. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you made a speech.
Hang on. I'll take up the story there. He'd just gone. He'd left. Him and the missus had wandered down the stairs. And you know how normally everyone loves to do the redraw. And I had to stand there and go, he's still here. He's still here. Ran down the steps, big open staircase. It's an old Cottesloe Hotel. Courtney, you won a surfboard. He's like, what? Came running back out. Okay, back upstairs. Go, Sean.
Okay, so I really don't remember what the speech was about. But what was so memorable is you stood there so proudly with one arm around your missus, one arm around the surfboard, and you were wearing your birthday suit, nothing else.
Yeah. I was like, I've won, and I just ran up the stairs and I just peeled off every single bit of clothing. And by the time I was like, yeah, I've never won anything in my life. So I was like, that's so cool.
That was the first and still the only nudie run at a presentation that I've seen, Cook. So, but yeah, I thought I'd better save you from the redraw. Like I say, we probably haven't gone into fin design specifics, but we've got a really good insight into the way you're thinking, and hopefully inspired a couple of grommets to start thinking a bit more laterally as well. Do you think there's a limit to the design, or we eventually reach a point where that's the best thing you can have? Or is it just a matter of, as you've already said, everyone's different, so therefore try it all?
Oh, no, of course. I mean, look, Weeksy, yeah, no limit, brother. Of course not. You know, the limit is how boring can surfing get, or how exciting can it get? You know what I mean? And to me, what keeps me excited now, as I've surfed for, most of my life, is to try new stuff. You know, it's something that goes, oh shit. I'm excited to go out surfing and test this thing, see what it does. You know enough about what a board goes like and stuff. So that's cool. And I think if we lose that, and if that's not available, if people like me don't have a chance to develop something crazy for guys who are interested in crazy to try, then we do have a problem. It's like, that to me is scary. I'd hate surfing to lose that wacky creativity, because that is where we, that's what got us to this point so far. And so, yeah, look, I mean, hopefully the grommets get stoned, kick back, don't think too much about going on the pro tour, and think about maybe instead, making something cool for surfing and developing stuff, and, get creative. That's to me, that's cooler. So, I mean, surfing in a pro, that whole thing's cool too, whatever, that's great. I'm never going to knock down. I wish I could have done that. But if you're not that way, you can still find you can make a living out of surfing by being creative. So yeah, why not?
Awesome. Yeah. So yeah, you're not saying don't chase the dreams, but in fact have more dreams. And so, mate, you've always been an inspiration to me. It's been a pleasure to have you on the show tonight. But I think we'd better let everyone get back to their lives. But anyone got any final things they want to get in real quickly? Things that Courtney can answer as a snap, because it's a great opportunity to have access to him.
Yes. How do you go about designing your fins for your team riders? I noticed Kobe Clements is one of your team riders. He's from my local beach, and I've grown up watching him. He's grown up probably. He's 10 years younger than me, but what's the process there? Do they give much feedback, or do you just look at their surfing and recommend things? Exactly. Well, someone like Kobe, so, to be honest with you, I've got to the stage where I know who I kind of want to work with. They've got to have a good attitude, open, obviously surf well, but they've got to know they've got an interest in what they're doing. Yep. So
Kobe fits that bill. He's an incredibly cool kid. His dad's cool. And for him, it was I just had some templates that I thought might work, but we've really done some pretty crazy stuff, and I've done some fins where I've designed with flex tips. Just the tip is about that thin, and it just flexes. It's almost like a flex tail of a surfboard. And Kobe's had good results with that. I've done some weird stuff with channels with him, so he's open to trying stuff. And I haven't really, I made a model with him with his artwork, but it was a template that we kind of agreed that was really working for him. But you know, potentially, you know, he could be the guy that helps me develop something really amazing, you know. But yeah, he's really, you know, as you just got to have a surfer who's willing. Like Jamie O'Brien, I handmade him a set of fins with channels. I put the channels on the inside of the fin, and he was, you know, cool enough at that time to be open to ride them. And then I never heard back from him, and he won the Vulcan Pro, beat Slater, I think, or whatever. And I rang him up, and I was like, Jamie, you weren't riding my fins, where he goes, man, I haven't got off those things all winter. And I said, no way, you won on my bloody channel tips. He goes, yeah, man, and I want them to be my, you know, my signature fin. I said, I don't know if I can afford you. He goes, I don't care about the money. I just want them to be my signature fin. So I was like, all right, that's cool. You know, so.
Yeah, that's unreal.
Yeah, it was, I kind of come up with crazy ideas, and hopefully I'll find someone who's good enough, to, you know, a really good surfer who's willing to give it a really good test.
Well, when it's someone like James O'Brien who's got pipeline outside his front door, and he can get fins off anyone he wants to. So now, I guess before with the 3D fins, it was a leap of faith with the original ones because you had to carve a board to pieces. But now you've already got the plugs in your board, and obviously you do the bases to suit the different types of fin systems as well. So anyone can have a go on them. And if it was good enough for Josh Kerr and good enough for Jamie O'Brien and good enough for a couple of world SUP champions, you know, father and daughter, as well as some of the up-and-coming Groms, it's kind of like...
2 world champion kneeboarders, Michael Novikov and his dad, I forgot his name now, but yeah, the Novikovs both won world championships on dimple fins. Kneeboarders need to get a mention. These guys rock.
So, but and I guess just finally, as far because this is a longboarding show, have you got plans afoot to make a bit more of a longboard range as far as different sizes, templates, and things, or have you pretty much got it nailed down now?
Oh yeah, definitely. Actually, I'm bringing out a soft longboard fin too, so it's going to be a nice stiff longboard fin, but with a soft skin on it. So that's my next kind of thing. Yeah, you know, and we've got a nipper fin for the Surf Lifesaving Australia, so that's really cool too. So.
Oh, all right. My mate Clarkie will be very interested to hear about that. He trains all the grommets down at Fremantle. So I guess I've said it before, but we better do it this time. Kira, sorry, did you have anything else, mate, before I say goodbye?
Oh, good. I've been really excited to hear all the new and exciting things, and I'd be hell keen to try them.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, totally, Kira.
And yeah, so you can see why Sean and I were so keen to get Courtney on. And Courtney, thanks so much for agreeing and making some time. I know you've got kid duties. Is dinner on, or you still got to feed them?
Yeah, we might go to go vendors or something.
There you go. Give them a plug on the show, and they might even give you a free feed. But anyway, on behalf of everybody who's watching, thanks so much for sharing some of your experiences and expertise. Next week, Sean.
Next week, we're going to, or the panel's going to discuss surf trips, the best surf trip we've been on. We probably won't have a special guest unless Courtney wants to come back on or something. But yeah, so for the panel, just talking about whether it's around Australia or overseas, what your best trip was. One thing I just want to mention, we lost another one of our legends this week, Big Johnny Keevers. From the Byron Bay.
No way.
Made very sudden, and our thoughts go out to the Keevers family and to all the crew there at Byron Bay. What else have we got? Just still got a few spots left in the Kira Longboard Classic. Contact us and we'll get an entry to you.
Cheers, mate. And you're always sad to lose one of the surfing family. And the Keevers, of course, very well known in the Byron Bay area. And Brother Sput, obviously the surf shop owner there forever and a day. And yeah, always sad for the passing, but it's always great to know we've got those memories that live forever. Guys, I think the only other thing to say is that Luke Sorensen is judging the photography competition. We've big shout out to Johnny Brazen, who's been a great support, and his team at Pacific Longboarder Magazine, great support of our show since episode 1. And he's had a pretty tough couple of weeks. So, mate, sending out some love from all the longboarding crew. JB's fine, by the way. It's just a couple of things in the family, so has been keeping him on his toes. So Luke Sorensen's agreed to judge the photography competition, so we'll have an announcement in the next couple of days on who gets to win the photography bag. I haven't stolen it. I've still got it still right here. So there's that fantastic photography backpack for someone to win, and Luke will let us know who that is in the next couple of days. Can we tell everybody who's on week after next, Sean, to get them excited now, or should we wait till next week to announce it?
Okay, so yeah, after the surf trip the following week, we got Harley Ingleby going to talk about what is going on in his life now. And for those, everyone should know Harley. He won a couple of world titles and that. So, man, it'd be great to have him there.
Incredible surfer and a wealth of information about surfing as well. All right, on behalf of all of us, I better call it a day. I'll put you back to Brady Bunch mode as we traditionally do. Wave to your mums. Thanks heaps, Corks. And if you've got any questions for Courtney, you can chuck them on our Facebook page, or even we've got an Instagram page as well, apparently. The young blokes look after that. But that was episode 11. We'll see you next week, episode 12, and we'll be talking about the best surf trip you've ever had. That's Oz Longboarding. See you next week.
Yo.
Longboard talk.